Hey, alchemists. So, today I want to do a little dive into another mystical law. And the mystical laws they're basically the laws of transcendence and transformation, how we create change within so that we experience change without in the package of our life. Now, the mystical laws, there's also some crossover with the unity principles and with the universal laws. Like, for example, the mystical law might be all is one. Unity principle is God is all things. And as a universal law, it's phrased as the all is all, right? So they're all laws, and they help us to transcend the illusion that life happens to us, right? The feeling like when we feel like life happens to me, I have no power. And it helps us to transform that into the spiritual truth that life happens as me. So here I'm going to go into the law of illusion just a little bit. And the law of illusion, it's alluded to in the Bible. It's the Course in Miracles talks about illusion a lot. And of course, in Buddhism, Buddha did teach on illusion. Now, to me, it is the most baffling of all the mystical truths because I can look at my living room window right now and I see things that I know they're not an illusion. You know, this morning I twisted my foot a little bit while I was outside playing with my dog. The pain was not an illusion. The love I feel for my dog is not an illusion. You know, her throwing herself at me in joy and excitement to play and almost knocking me over, that's not an illusion. We have 5 senses telling us that this planet that we're on, it's here and it's real and it's physical. So I really had to learn and come to the understanding the illusion, it's in our way of thinking and acting. When a thought form gets into our head and then that thought form has influence over us and how we show up in our lives, this is what the Buddha called illusion. So illusion is who we are not. Illusion is we are the idea that we are limited, that we are helpless. That's the illusion. Versus the truth is who we really are. We are an expression of the divine, created in the image and likeness of our Creator. So the illusion is whatever causes our suffering. Now, the Buddha talked about the 4 mystical paths, or on the mystical path of the 4 noble truths, and how these 4 noble truths heal suffering that's caused by illusion. And I'm just going to briefly touch on them. I don't really study Buddhism at all, but it is, of course, it's a beautiful path, and I love what I have read about it. But the first noble truth is that there's suffering, and in between our birth and death, we'll experience suffering. And of course, we understand that suffering to lose a loved one. And it can also feel like suffering when we don't get something we want, right? And then that is the second noble truth, that there's a cause to this suffering, and it's wanting what we want and needing that thing so we can be happy, right? And not being happy when we can't have it. Right? So, of course, then there's the third noble truth. We end up suffering, or we end our suffering then. We end our suffering if we can stop wanting something out there to make us happy and being unhappy if we can't have that. Right? And so when we can understand, we end our suffering when we realize life is just a series of props. Life is just a bunch of props. It's all neutral out there, really. We're making choices and we're deciding. And then, of course, the fourth noble truth is to follow the Eightfold Path. Now, in the Eightfold Path, there are right ideas. So are we thinking the right ideas? Or are we thinking ideas that maybe we need somebody to come rescue us or do it for us? Right resolution, right? Are we solution-oriented? Are we problem-oriented? Right speech. How are you speaking to yourself, right? I think about that. How am I speaking to myself? Am I saying mean things to myself? Right behavior, which could be like, am I in congruence with my spiritual nature? Am I in congruence with how I really want to show up in this world? Right livelihood, right? The things that we're doing. Right effort. I know sometimes I don't want to put forth effort. I want something for nothing. Maybe I want to sit on Netflix and experience fame and fortune while I'm sitting on the couch. Right mindfulness, right? Right mindfulness. Are we taking that time to have some inner peace? Right concentration, right? What are we concentrating on? What are we focusing on? Now in Unity, we don't have that, but we do have a very simplified version of the Eightfold Path, which is right thinking, right action, right? Right thinking, right action. And it is this that heals our suffering. Okay, illusion is the things that cause our suffering. And so with this idea of the law of illusion, there comes this idea of projection. I can remember when I first got into New Age teachings, I heard this phrase, life is a mirror. I didn't get that really, but I was hearing it all the time, right? Like, well, I was just really angry and his reaction, it triggered me. And then I realized he was being a mirror for my beliefs. And I was like, how is that, right? How is that? I thought mirroring literally meant this. If somebody said, well, I don't feel good. And then you say, are you saying you don't feel good? That's what I thought mirroring was, right? Life is a mirror, right? But what I came to understand is that this idea of life being a mirror or a projection comes down to our third unity principle, that we create our experiences through our way of thinking and acting. So our beliefs, the way we think and act, are being reflected back to us in our experience of life, right? Our feelings, our beliefs are how we experience our life. And so this is why you can have two people that are in the same situation, and yet they'll have two different experiences, right? Two people could go out to lunch, and one person could think that the restaurant was great and that the waitress was friendly. The other person might think service was too slow, right? It just all depends on our consciousness. I can remember years ago in a Course in Miracles meeting, of course, we were talking about mirroring and projection. And I was with somebody and we were chatting, and then a third person came up and started talking to us. And in my head, I was like, that person is so talkative. They're monopolizing the conversation, right? And they're taking away time when I want to be talking to this person. And I was really aggravated at them. And then they walked away. Now, the other person I was talking with that I wanted to be talking with, she says, oh, so-and-so is just so lovely. I always love talking with her. And I was like, I'm not seeing it. Like, I didn't get it. Because in my consciousness, right, that's where I was in my consciousness, I was really projecting my own neediness and wanting to monopolize that conversation onto this other person, right? So if we are in the consciousness of life happens to me, woe to me, that will be our experience. Life will reflect it back to us. And of course, we also have our wonderful reticular activating system in our brain, right? So if we are, this is really a thing, right? This is a scientific thing. So if we tend to complain a lot, life or our brain will say, you're right, there's so much to complain about. I'm going to show you more things to complain about. And then life gives us back that to complain about it, right? So the reason that we call it a mirror or a reflection is that we have to change ourselves. We don't change the reflection in the mirror. If I wanted to go blonde, I wouldn't hold up a mirror and take a yellow Sharpie and color my hair in the mirror blonde with a yellow Sharpie. I'd go to my hairdresser, right? We have to change ourselves, and then our experience of life changes, right? Our reflection changes. So life is an illusion. It's an illusion because we can change our experience through our way of thinking and acting, right? So it's our experiences. It's not the physical things in the world, right? You don't get in your car and drive down a street that's not there, right? The street is there. Okay, the weather is the weather. The stuff is not an illusion, right? We, of course, I believe that as souls, like we choose an experience of physicality. And so there's actually something here. There's a physical planet. And then there's all the physical stuff we do on the planet. And of course, our physical bodies that we can feel. The illusion is when we believe that we are less than, that we are limited, that we are not good enough. And that is what causes the suffering. Okay, our beliefs, our way of showing up to life may be causing us suffering. And these we can change. We can change. Life is a bunch of props, and we choose to react or respond to those props, right? For me, maybe it was when I used to get really aggravated on the road, but really driving down the street and having somebody cut me off, it was just a prop. I get to choose how I'm showing up. They're not deciding that I'm going to be aggravated. It was me. Oh, hey, it's me. I'm the problem. It's me, right? So there are some things I want to talk about that are sources of suffering that maybe we can look at. And one of those are our self-inflicted spells. Okay, these are the mean things that we say to ourselves, like, I'll never succeed, I'll never be loved, I'll never be as good as, I'm not smart enough, I'm not clever enough, I'm not good enough, right? So we have these self-inflicted spells. We continually beat ourselves down. And when we do this, it's so hard to hear divine guidance, right? That guidance that could actually move us out of the suffering. Now, something else we do is we give things significance. Now, there's a story, you've probably heard it, but basically there was this man who's a farmer. He lived outside a little village. And one day his son comes home with some wild horses. And the villagers come to him and say, "You are so lucky." And the farmer just says, "We'll see. We'll see." Now, the next day, his son is training the horses, and he falls off one of the horses and breaks his leg. The villagers come to the farmer and they say, "This is terrible. This is so terrible." And the farmer says, "We'll see." Well, not too long after that, the king of the land sent off all his soldiers to go to all the local villages and recruit every strong young man to go off and fight in battle. Well, this farmer's son couldn't go because his leg was broken. And the villagers, they came to the farmer and they said, "You are so lucky. This is such good luck." And the farmer, he says, "We'll see." Now, we do give things their significance, right? That guy that cut me off while I was driving, that gave me a terrible start to my day. That's so unfair. People are crazy. Or, oh, somebody must not be paying attention. Oh well. Oh, maybe I'll just slow down for this guy. He looks kind of like he's in a hurry, right? We give things their significance. Now, it's true. There are some things that are truly, truly terrible. Truly terrible. Okay? And so when I talk about how we give things their significance, I'm not talking about that we just go into denial over terrible things that have happened in our lives. It's always important to honor our feelings. And we do have to accept the things that have happened because they've happened. They've already happened. We can't travel back in time and do anything differently. So what we're doing is we're observing our life right here at this moment. We have to accept what has happened. Now, all this does, we don't have to go into denial, and we don't have to pretend everything is okay. But at this point, when we can observe and we can accept, then we know, okay, right here, this is what I have to work with. This is what I have to work with, and this is how we now choose our way forward. Okay, so suffering, we also create more suffering in our lives when we take things personally or when we make assumptions or when we ask over and over, why? Why did this terrible thing have to happen? And there's just really not an answer to that question, is there? Life is filled with infinite moving parts, things working together, and we just don't even know why, right? We're going to lose people that we love. We might lose a job or a home. Most of us, all of us, will experience pain. But we start suffering, which happens when we give our power over to that thing that caused us pain. Now, Carolyn Mace says this: the deeper truth is that there is not one reason why a particular thing happens as it does. Every event is the result of the compilation of hundreds, if not thousands or millions of events that have been in motion for an unknowable length of time. So, for example, we are alive because of our parents, but how did our parents meet? What kind of chance encounters happened with our grandparents or our great-grandparents or our ancestors from 1,000 years ago? Okay, so life is filled with moving parts. We want to be careful not to take things personally because, you know what, they're usually not about us. They're about the other person, right? We want to be careful not to make assumptions because we really don't know why things are happening. And of course, hopefully we can stay out of that spiral of asking the question, why? Why did this have to happen? So how can we fall into harmony with this illusion? And we do the inner work, right? We start with the conversations that we have with ourselves. We change our vocabulary and we speak words of power, right? Words of power, like I am creative. I'm created in the image and likeness of my Creator. I'm capable of finding solutions, right? I found solutions before. I can do it again. The universe has my back, right? Life shows up for me. So, right? We speak words of power. We speak words of power. And then we show up for ourselves. We decide to show up for ourselves. We come into this day, we come into this moment. I'm like, my light's blazing right now, folks. That's all I got to say. And so we want to ask ourselves, we want to notice if we just gave our power to something outside of ourselves. And we do that when we seek approval, when we underestimate ourselves because somebody couldn't approve of us, because someone wouldn't appreciate us. You know, we start thinking, oh, maybe I'm not that great, right? But we're giving our power over to something or someone that shouldn't have that amount of importance in our life, in our self-esteem, in our way of showing up in this world. So here's our call to action for this week. We'll start with our affirmation. I'm going to say it once and then let's say it together. This heart is mine to shine. This heart is mine to shine. It is lovely when we are approved of. It is lovely when we are appreciated, when we are accepted. It is lovely when people want to lift us up. But guess what? Most people will not want to lift us up. If we want to shine out like our true self into this life of ours, we do have to take a stand and decide that we are the ones to do this. This heart is mine to shine. This life is mine to shine. This world is mine to shine. Okay, there's a saying, pain is inevitable, suffering is optional, right? So pain is, I look at it this way, pain is in the middle of the night, barefoot, stepping on those Legos, right? But suffering happens when we are giving something significance, right? Or taking it personally or making assumptions. Like, my 2-year-old is out to get me and laying all these Legos out, right? Right? Suffering, again, we're taking it personally. In the illusion, we are showing up as who we are not. We are showing up as a limited version of ourselves, and we are diluting our vital life force energy when we cannot let go of the suffering, when we cannot let go of the conditions in our life, and we compromise our spiritual integrity because we are not in alignment with the divine within us, right? That's not who we really are. So our invitation for this week is we want to remember who we are doing all this work for, right? The unity path, it's not entertainment, right? Doing this work is about doing the deep work, right? It's not just about entertainment. It's not about saying, oh, yeah, I'm so spiritual. I'm so spiritual. No, this is deep work here, folks, right? And so we want to remember, who are we doing this for? Like, I'm doing it for myself first. Put your oxygen mask on and all that, right? Do it for yourself first, and then you do it for your loved ones. And then you're doing it for your family. And then you are doing it for this beautiful blue marble that we call home, right? Planet Earth. So as we go through this week, we can ask ourselves, wow, right, if life is reflecting back to me my belief system about my life, what am I working with here? What am I working with here, right? We can look at our actions and our choices, and we'll see right away what our consciousness is. If we are in life happens to me consciousness, right? I have no power here. Or is it life happens as me, right? I am created to be a creator. The power that creates worlds is at work in you all the time. All the time. That power never leaves you. So we're here to see into this world as a mystic. God is all things, and that means me, and that means everybody else, right? Even the guys, the people who eat, vote, pray, parent differently than we do, right? God is still all things. God is all. The all is all. And then we act in this world as an alchemist, meaning we take a stand right here, right now. Doesn't matter what's in our history. Doesn't matter what happened yesterday or 5 years ago or 20 years ago. We stand in our authority right here, right now, and decide nothing out there is going to determine how we show up in our life. Nothing out there will determine if we are in faith or not, right? This heart is mine to shine, right? This heart is mine to shine. This life is mine to shine. This world is mine to shine. And that is how we are creating heaven on earth. So until next time, remember that you are divinely designed to be doing all of this. You are a one-time, one-of-a-kind cosmic event, and you are blessed in everything that you do. And so it is.